World War II shaped the lives of a generation. The war broke families apart, brought communities together, and turned a depressed economy into an industrial machine. On the home front, citizens sold war bonds and collected scrap metal for the factories. Friends were made and lost as a generation of boys was sent into combat. Penn State Public Broadcasting invited those who lived this history to share their stories of World War II.
My name is Kenneth Woodruff, and I was in Patton's Third Army. I was drafted into the Army in February of 1943. I served till about May of 45. When we went in, we landed on Utah Beach, and we served in Brittany. When the Army went in, they bypassed the towns of the port cities of St. Nazaire and Lorient, and there were about 30,000 Germans bottled up there. And our job at that time was to hold the ring around that. So I think for about 3 months we were there. And then we were transferred to, when the Battle of Bulge, we were transferred to Patton's Third Army. Actually, there were 3 small towns just inside of Germany in the Saar-Moselle Triangle across from Luxembourg. And the town that we were taking was Nenning and Weiss and Berg. We got up at 3 o'clock in the morning and had chow, and then went to chapel and took, waded through about 10 inches of snow for about 2 miles until we got to the line of departure. The town was a small town, probably about 50 houses, and we had they laid down a lot of smoke, and so we kind of got a little bit lost. And I was with the 2nd platoon, which was a rifle platoon, and we came into the left of the town, and we were actually in the town of Weiss instead of Nenning. So I was with a Sergeant Preston, and he threw a grenade through the window, and some Germans came out of the building, and we shot those, and after that a couple came out with their hands up. So that was the action that we had. Actually, the rest of the platoon was come under fire of a machine gun, and so they were pinned down there for about 2 hours till we got mortars to go in and knock out the machine gun position. I didn't think much about it, except we were just trying to remain alive, and we were doing what we felt we had to do, and I don't think we thought much about it. At that day, I had no problem with it, but we probably lost more people in the division from Frostbite, because we had regular shoes instead of the snowpacks, and so that was a real problem. We had a lot of frostbite, because the weather there was very similar to here, and we'd be maybe all night laying out in the ground somewhere, and had a lot of frostbite. The rest of the company took the town of Nenning, and we had taken part of Weiss, and then L Company come in and helped relieve us there. Then I went back with K Company, and the town of Nenning was in a depression, and there was a big hill, and so we set up a line of defense up on the hill, and that's where my machine gun was posted. And we had it was so cold you couldn't keep everybody up there, you'd freeze to death. So we would have about half the company up on the hill on the line of defense, and the rest would be down in the house. In all those houses, we found a lot of wine, a lot of ham, and there was brisket, so we could keep a fire. So we would have ham not to eat, because the roads were mined, and so the only way they could get food in was the supply sergeant, mess sergeant, would have a group that carried at night. They would carry food in for us, but other than that, we just ate out of what we could find in the houses. And we played a lot of cards, and it was, we were only 18, 19 years old, and it was a lot of fun, that part of it. We found some souvenirs and things like that, but we were not able to keep anything because we always were on the move, and the people in the rear got all the souvenirs. We never wanted to be caught with anything that was German on us because that would be dangerous. The citation that we got a Bronze Star for doing that action, but the communication was very important between the people who were down in the town and the ones that were up on the hill. And so the Germans had a large castle up on the hill, and they could see down into the town and part of the hill. And so anytime anybody was out on the hill at all, there was a lot of mortars or artillery shells came in. But that would break up the communication lines. So when that would happen, Joe Dupre, a buddy of mine, would get a reel wire on a stick. He'd have one end of the stick, I had the other, and we would run from the top of the hill downtown to replace those lines. And so that was very important that we keep those communications. Oh, that was probably about 300 yards downhill. It was easy to run, and we ran faster and faster each time we did it because we'd about get a quarter way down, and the Germans could pick us up, and they'd start shooting artillery and mortar shells at us. Later on, we had a big problem with a shoe mine. It was this quarter-pound of dynamite in a little box, and that was in another action. We were came under machine gun fire, and I was leading the machine gun squad, and I was following the first platoon, and the medic was between me and the platoon, and we came under fire. We all fell down to the right, and in doing that, we fell right into the shoe mines, and the medic fell right on one, and he was killed, and I got the shrapnel on my arm. That was outside of Nenning, in what was called the Banholt Woods. When I fell, just the explosion next to me, it sounded horrible, and then I felt the shrapnel, and the lieutenant came back and said he was going to take the company and lead them around another way, and I was to remain with the ones that were there. There were a couple had their feet blown off from the shoe mine, and I worked with the medics, and he said, then get yourself taken care of and then rejoin the outfit, which I did later that day. It was terrible, but I'll tell you what they said is they were happy. They had the $1 million wound. They were coming home alive. They lost a foot, but they were coming home alive. During the Battle of the Bulge, we went up, and our first assignment, we relieved a Ranger battalion, and that's where I got that one German Luger pistol I have out there. And then we were fighting in what was called the Saar-Moselle Triangle. It was a part of the Siegfried Line. It was a double Siegfried Line at that point. The actual main Siegfried Line ran across on the eastern side of the Rhine River, or the Saar River, I mean. And so one of the big things we did was, after we'd broken through the first part of the Siegfried Line, we went down to the little town of Isle and crossed the Saar River in boats. The little boat with 8 people in it, we'd cross that. That was fun. The Germans, there was a pillbox across the road, across the river, and they were firing. You could see the tracer bullets going right over top of us. So we kept down pretty low, but we got across, and there was a big hill. We went up the hill and met some Germans up there, which were killed. But then we went about 3 miles on through the mountain to a crossroad, our company, and we were cut off back there and run out of supplies. So they dropped supplies to us with these little Piper Cub observation planes. But that was a real experience crossing the Rhine, or the Saar River there. When we first got there, the Germans were not shelling or anything, but then they started shelling, and they blew up after the engineers had brought the boats, and the boats were all blown up, and so we had to go back a little farther away from the shore until they got more boats, and our colonel had them take them to another area about maybe 300 yards up the river, and we were able to go across there okay. The Germans, we'd come under artillery fire, but they seemed that they couldn't depress the guns enough. They were always shooting right over our head. I went as far as, with the company, as far as the Rhine River. The last engagement we had was taking the town of Ludwigshafen on the Rhine River, and it took us about 4 days to clear that town. And after that, we went into reserve, and we were told that one enlisted man and one officer of the battalion would be entitled to a 45-day rest and recuperation back in the States. So I was chosen as the enlisted man, and I could either stay and get my sergeant's stripes or I could come home. So I came home. We were sent back to the Channel to Le Havre, and I was put on a Liberty ship and came back to the United States. We had 350 German prisoners, as was our cargo, and they were very interesting to talk to. We didn't allow, they were down in the hold, but they were up near and we could talk with them. And we landed in the States on VE Day, but we weren't allowed out because they had to decontaminate everybody. You could see everybody on the shore because we were right in the dock there. Everybody was having a great time shooting fireworks and dancing and hugging, and it was wonderful to watch, but we couldn't get off.